I am Anson Phillip, and you were talking about the weekend fights. What an exciting time we are in. The month of April. It was April 16th, and it went down. We're going to talk about the different fights. Um, Basically, if you guys want to join in, chop it up with me, live, face to face, we could do that. I'm going to send you the link. All you have to do in the comment section is request the link, and I'll send it to you. All right, simple like that. As to talking about the weekend fights, when you come in here as a guest, don't forget to mute your mic. I also, in addition, be respectful, and that's it, right? So I invite one and all. We're going to talk about the weekend fights. I said it was coming. Said sometime between 7 and 8 o'clock I would do it. It actually is a little bit after 8, but we're hitting it up. I'm going to break it down. So the fights that we're going to be talking about are Benn versus Chris Van Hurdy, okay, as you can see on the screen. And we're going to talk about Isaac Cruz versus Ugas Gamboa, Pitbull doing this thing. And then we're going to talk also about Spence versus Ugas. All right, we'll talk about that fight. That was actually a good fight, actually. And we're going to also talk about the future of Spence, what his future looks like. Isaac Cruz, what his future looks like, and the future for Benn. I should probably tell you that those guys won those fights, right? All right, let's get into it. So you can also chop it up if you want in the comment section. I'm only talking to you about things related to this particular stream. So please don't go saying something else that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, because I'll just ignore you, okay? All right, now that we set that down, let's get into it. The first one that we saw this weekend was Benn versus Chris Van Hurdy, which happened in the UK. And Chris Van Hurdy is a durable guy, generally speaking, but man, Benn got him out of there. He got him out of there. He was beating him from round one. He was beating him up. Sharp, going to the body, mixing it up, body, head. Once he hurt Van Hurdy, he just started throwing combinations. Very, very surgical, very targeted. Chris Van Hurdy tried to fight back. Benn was walking through them punches. I'm wondering, because Benn looked very leathery, so I'm not sure if he has some kind of performance enhancing drug that he's using, but he looked very leathery. I don't know what that has to do with anything, maybe not. But man, he was just walking through some of Chris Van Hurdy's shots. Chris Van Hurdy was, throwing some real powerful lead lefts, and Benn was just walking through that. So I don't know, man. But anyway, Benn, man, got that punch, get Chris Van Hurdy out of there. And that's all she wrote. That was basically it for that. And then the other fight was on the undercard of Spence versus Ugas in Texas. Isaac Cruz versus Ugas Gamboa. And the interesting thing about Ugas Gamboa is he's a common opponent of several fighters, from Terence Crawford to Gervonta Davis, Tank, who Isaac Cruz actually faced, to also Devin Haney, who also faced Ugas Gamboa. And Gamboa early on was kind of somewhat game, but once Isaac Cruz caught him with that left hook and made him do the jiggy dance, the fight really wasn't really. I mean, Gamboa was the bigger, stronger guy, you could tell, because when he leaned in on Isaac Cruz, he could push him, bully him around to the ropes and stuff, and he could clinch him up and lock him up. But Isaac Cruz was not going to be denied, man. I mean, Isaac Cruz dropped him, I think it was 2 times in the second round. Dropped him 2 times in the second round, and then I think in the 4th round he dropped him, and then in the 5th round, I mean, he blasted him into the ropes. And the referee said, you know what, let's just forget about it. And he just called off the fight, because Gamboa was taking a lot of punishment in that fight. And Isaac Cruz just dominated him. I mean, dominated him, okay? Isaac Cruz has an interesting style. Gamboa got 1 or 2 shots in there, but, man, Isaac Cruz just dominated him from start to finish. So that's what happened in that fight, okay? And it was a very exciting fight. Gamboa was on wobbly legs, but, man, the dude got a lot of heart. He would not stay down. He gets back up, and he still tries to fight, even though, he tries every little tactic he knows in the book, but he was getting caught flush. His trainer was saying, keep your hands up, because he popped the jab, and then he would just drop his hands and snap back, and he just get caught. He got clipped. Isaac Cruz put him down with a left hook. He put him down with a right hook. I mean, he was putting him down left, right, and center. He hit him with a body punch and put him down. So is what it is. But at the end of the day, Isaac Cruz shows that he's a force to reckon with in the lightweight division. He's a small little guy, about 5'4", 5'2" probably. But man, he uses his size, his height, and everything just perfectly to close that distance and just rumble. You know what I'm saying? And Gamboa's little tactics that he wanted to try to use, you know, clinching and stuff, it just didn't work this time around. Cruz was just relentless. You know, I like Isaac Cruz. And of course, Gamboa is an old fighter, but still at the same time, the way how he dispatched of Gamboa, I know Gamboa been losing, he's on a losing streak, all of that. But you know, he's in a slump, as we say. But still at the same time, he dispatched of him much faster than Devin Haney did. You know, he had the formula for what to do when a guy's clinching you up. So when a guy's lucking you up so much, you got to fight out of the luck, okay? And Cruz was not the bigger, stronger guy. Gamboa was the bigger, stronger guy in there. But Cruz was just so brutal with the body punches. I mean, he would break him down with every single body shot. And then he would load over the top. He would dip and load over the top and throw those overhand rights. And he was clipping Gamboa when he snapped back. He'd catch him with the overhand right and it just stun him. And he did it when Gamboa was actually pivoting out the way, going back. He would still catch him with the left hook. So it was really interesting how Cruz, they seemed to study Gamboa's style, and they knew what to do to deal with him. And he definitely dispatched of him in emphatic fashion. And on to the next, obviously. But what he shows is that Cruz shows he's a player in the division where Tank, you know, it took Tank like 12 rounds to get Gamboa out of there, who's a tough guy to get out of there. Gamboa's a tough guy to get out of there. Let me just let you know that. All right, he's a tough guy to get out of there. Now Cruz got him out of there because he was just hitting him at will. And on top of that, you know, Gamboa's a tough dude, but he was taking some serious punishment this time. You know, because Cruz was working the body, was working the head. You know, Gervonta still goes more to the head than the body. It took Gervonta 12 rounds to get him out of there. And Gamboa's notoriously difficult, and he's a veteran. But Cruz didn't let up. He just didn't give him no air, nothing. Gervonta, he had to pace himself when he was facing Gamboa, so he didn't burn out. Cruz got really great conditioning, so he just be bulldozing through this dude. And no matter what strategy Gamboa, he seemed to be a step behind Cruz. You know, Cruz just mowed through him. All right, let's talk about the main event, which was Errol Spence versus Dennis Ugas. This is actually a very good fight, and you know, the people who said that, you know, Ugas might pull the upset, well, he almost did in a kind of way, not really, but he sort of did because his counterpunching caught Errol off guard a couple times. Well, I know Terence Crawford must be just kind of licking his chops over that. Hold on one second, people. I'm gonna be right back. Be right back. Okay, so yeah, let me get back to what I was saying, but I'm gonna be eating something else as usual while I'm talking to you guys. But yeah, Errol Spence, man, Dennis Ugas. Now, okay, so first of all, he did get caught with some counter shots, so you have to watch out for that. But Errol took them pretty good. Didn't take them so well in the third and the fourth. You know, Ugas was starting to come on strong in the last 10 seconds of a round. He would flurry and do his thing and hurt Errol also. Kind of compile the data and just land those shots in those pocket areas. Now, Errol took them pretty well, but some of the body shots, you see him dip down because he knew, he was like, oh, damn. You know, Ugas was landing some pretty good body shots. Okay, so let me talk about it. First, I think the first two rounds, I had Errol taking them the third round, I thought Ugas, I think Ugas took the third round and the fourth round. And then Errol came back and took the fifth round. Okay, now the fourth round was a very emphatic round for Dennis Ugas, even though Errol finished it pretty well, because Ugas caught Errol with a big shot, and Errol turned away because his mouth guard got knocked out of his mouth. So anybody who say Ugas can't punch, the dude can punch, man. Anyways, Ugas knocked his mouthpiece. Errol was looking at the mouthpiece, and Ugas just hit him 2 more shots, knocked him into the ropes, and Errol started focusing on the fight. The referee stopped the fight, gave Errol a lot of time to recoup, and then Errol came back with a flurry on Ugas, and he was really putting a hurting on Ugas. And after the fifth, Errol kind of took over everything. So Ugas was coming on strong for about 5-6 rounds. Okay, he was doing his thing, and then I think he got his eye hurt. Errol hurt his eye. I believe it was in the 6th round, something like that. And after that, it was just all, it was Errol. Ugas wasn't really throwing a whole lot. He was still trying to throw punches that count, but his eye was closing down. Errol was just, you know, relentless. He just keep on throwing punches, even if he's not landing clean, even if he's not, he just kept on working. His work rate, Errol had a very high work rate from the beginning, from round 1 when he started off with the jab. He started off with the jab in round 1 till all the way to the end, right? In the end, the way the fight ended was kind of anticlimactic for me. I don't know about other people, but it was anticlimactic for me in that Ugas, the fight doctor stopped the fight. Okay. Now, I think it was 2 rounds before that. I think it was somewhere in the 8th round. The referee carried Ugas to the corner for the fight doctor to see. And the fight doctor was asking him, and Ugas said, I can see through my eye and all of that. The fight doctor came back in the 10th round. Ugas was taking punishment. Errol was starting to carve him up. No doubt about it. But Ugas was still live dog in there. He was still countering, still throwing shots. Okay? The ref sent Ugas across to the doctor. The doctor said, can you see through the eye? Ugas was allowed to see or whatever. The doctor did the test. The doctor said, now we need to call off the fight. And Ugas was protesting. He was like, what are you talking about? Right? I personally thought that the fight could have gone on a little longer. This was not a Margarito situation. Ugas' eye was swollen up, but it didn't look like he hurt anything, at least bone-wise. You know, I listened to Derek James after the fight talking about how Ugas maybe has broken ribs and all of that. It didn't look that way. So I just think Ugas should have, I mean, they tried to give him a chance, right? But I think they should have given him a little bit more chance. If the dude want to go fight onwards, let him fight. See what he could do. I didn't think he was being effective. He's starting to fade. Errol's starting to break him down. And Errol's landing some flush shots on him. So for me, it was a matter of time. But still, if the guy want to go out on a shield, sometimes you have to let guys go out on their shield. You know what I mean? So Errol Spence Jr. is now the unified WBA, WBC, and IBF world champion. And he was very happy when he won. Ugas is big and strong, tough competitor, and Ugas didn't want the fight stop, but they stopped it. It is what it is. And like a good competitor, he congratulated Errol Spence. You know, had a lot of class. Represented Cuba very well. So mad kudos to Ugas. What I gotta say though is that I look forward to seeing Errol Spence face Terence Crawford, right? Now, at the end of the fight, Errol Spence said what he always said. I said it all the time. He always said to Terence, which is, clean up my side of the street, and I face you. And that's exactly what he's doing. He is now going to face Terence Crawford. And so, we know that's his immediate future. His immediate future is Terence Bud Crawford. You know what I'm saying? All right. Shout out to some guy named 78 Sports TV Jr. He says Errol will stop Bud and Fornello man down. Okay, so I guess you're Errol Spence fan. So the fight you guys wanted to see all the time, it's gonna happen. Okay? Errol versus Bud is gonna happen. As I always say. There was a couple of hiccups in the way, but Errol made it past those things. Bounced back like a true champion. And now we're talking about Errol versus Bud Crawford. Bud sitting down on the sideline showing his abs. And Mac pointed at them. He said, I'm gonna mess up Bud. I'm gonna mess up Errol. Let the trash talking begin. So the fight everyone wanted to see is coming. Errol versus Bud, and I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what happens. That's a mega fight. All right. Okay, let's talk about the future of Errol and Bud, Isaac Cruz, and Conor Benn. Do understand Conor Benn is a welterweight. I know Errol is going straight at Crawford. They're going to have a good game plan. Errol is fundamentally sound. Works behind the jab. Is a smart fighter. Bud's a very smart fighter as well. He is a counterpuncher, like Ugas, but not one-dimensional. He's very athletic. I know Bud's looking at this and licking his lips. People talking about Bud is a naturally smaller guy. No, he's not. Not anymore. Bud has had ample time to prepare for Errol. I think Errol has proven that he's the truth. So this is a great fight. The truth versus Bud. And Errol's a workhorse. He'll swamp you with activity. He's a big, strong welterweight. It'll take a lot to knock him out. But Bud is very strong himself. Very skilled. Gathers data and is very tactical. So we're about to see not just two great welterweights in their prime, but two great welterweights who now have great resumes, a lot of experience under them, face each other. I'm going to say this. This fight's better than Sugar Ray versus Thomas Hearns that's coming up, because not in terms of the fight itself, but in terms of who these fighters have already beaten. Okay? Crawford's beaten Porter, Khan, Horn, Brook at welterweight. Some of them a little past it, but still. Brook just beat Khan. And Conor Benn, he want to face Brook. Okay. Now, L beat Porter, who was the WBC champion at the time. He also beat Garcia. Now he's beaten Ugas, who's the WBA champion. Okay. He wanted to Pacquiao, but he didn't get a Pacquiao. And Ugas beat Pacquiao. And he also beat Kell Brook to be the IBF champion. So these are the guys that he has on his resume who are actual welterweights. Now he also beat Danny Garcia. But Danny Garcia wasn't a true welterweight, so all right. So now it comes down to them facing each other. You know, we can talk about resumes and all that, but what I'm saying is the experience that these guys have in their resumes. All right. You know, Mikey, pound for pound fighter at the time. You know, some good names. Lamont Peterson, who was, you know, a champion at super lightweight. Errol's got all them guys under his belt at welterweight. And so what you see is very experienced guys who faced former world champions, current world champions. And that's tremendous. You didn't have that kind of resume with Sugar Ray and Thomas Hearns. Thomas Hearns had beaten Pepino Cuevas. That was the only big name he had on his resume. And Sugar Ray Leonard at the time, he had Benitez and he avenged Duran. You know? Those are the only two guys that he had on his resume. So it's very interesting. I mean, just watching this matchup. This could be a mega fight. And I know it's going down. And Errol's already, you know, Texas is way behind Errol. So it may happen in Texas. But who knows where it may end. It may end up being in Vegas. It may end up being in Madison Square Garden. Who knows? But what I do know is there's going to be a mega fight. I'm looking forward to it. I'm what you need. I'm going to catch you guys later. Oh, wait. I'm talking about Isaac Cruz, Pitbull. So what's the future for Pitbull? Well, Pitbull need to face any one of those top 5 welterweights. You got Haney, Garcia. Pitbull wanted to face Garcia. Maybe make that fight happen. Or we got Gamboa facing Haney. So there's that. There's Lopez that may be still at 130, maybe 140. We'll see. I don't know. You know, you got Lomachenko up in there. So there's all those guys Pitbull could face. I would love to see Pitbull versus Lomachenko, by the way. That would be a great fight. So there's all those guys that Pitbull could face. And barring promotional status and stuff, the boundaries being cleared for MP Promotions, sky's the limit with Pitbull, right? Conor Benn, I think Conor Benn, he'd be best suited to facing. He wants Kell Brook. I don't know if he'll get Kell Brook because Kell Brook has a certain status behind him. He's faced a certain level of opponent. It'd probably be a step back for him to face Conor Benn. You understand? I don't think people understand this, but it's names is everything. So if you look at Kell Brook and who he's faced, this is what Kell Brook has faced. He's faced Sean Porter, Triple G, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, and Amir Khan. Where does Conor Benn fit into that equation? He don't fit, right? He don't fit. He just don't fit. Unless your name is, you know, unless you're a world champion, it's like taking a step back. Now, him going up in weight and facing Chris Eubank Jr. at 160 or catch weight or whatever is a better idea because Chris Eubank Jr. has beaten guys like he was the super middleweight champion of the world at a certain point in time. I think not Porky is his name. What was his name? James DeGale. Okay, he has a win over James DeGale, okay, Chris Eubank Jr., and then he's faced guys like, you know, Billy Joe Saunders. Um, he fought also Matt Korobov, but that fight was kind of squashed, unfortunately. So Chris Eubank Jr., he might even face Triple G. Who knows? So Chris Eubank Jr. is a really good name for Kell Brook to go after because he's actually fought some guys that people know in boxing. Okay, Conor Benn ain't faced nobody of that kind of ilk. So that's why, it's almost like taking a step backward, going down a level to face a Conor Benn. He's not a journeyman. You know what I mean? Kell Brook's not a journeyman. And yes, it may be welterweight. I heard Eddie Hearn saying, he's going to leave welterweight and Conor Benn. He's afraid of Conor Benn. He's not afraid of Conor Benn. Okay, he's not afraid of Conor Benn. It's just Conor Benn's not on his level. He needs to find somebody on his level. And Chris Eubank Jr. is closer to his level of competition than Conor Benn is. You have to understand there are levels to the sport of boxing. Now, I'm going to say this. Throwback boxing days, people used to fight, anybody used to fight anybody. You know what I'm saying? You could be a debutant and you might face a world champion. But today, that's not how it works, okay? You have to earn your stripes. You have to work your way up the ladder to beat a world champion. And then a guy like Kell Brook, with the kinds of opponents and opposition he has faced, you have to be one of those kinds of guys for him to be interested in facing you. Because remember, the higher up you go in boxing is the more money you make. Okay, so Kell Brook, right, especially at the end of his career, he's kind of coming to the close of his career. He not been looking for no small fight. He's looking for big fights. You hear Kell Brook say it over and over again. I'm looking for big fights. Conor Benn is not a big fight. Any one of y'all say that Conor Benn is a big fight, y'all don't know shit about boxing, because big fights don't come by some guy who's what is he? He's a prospect. Is Conor Benn still a prospect? He's on the verge of being a contender, right? Kell Brook's faced legends. Kell Brook's faced champions. Kell Brook's beaten champions. Okay? Kell Brook's not a journeyman. Now, if he was a gatekeeper or a journeyman, that would be totally different. But he's not a gatekeeper or a journeyman. Kell Brook's a contender, and a top contender at that. Okay? So he's not, you see, Conor Benn's not on the same level with Kell Brook. Now, if Kell Brook loses, let's say, to Chris Eubank Jr., or he loses to, say, another welterweight, a top welterweight, then Conor Benn might look at him and say, you know what, but Kell Brook just came up a win of Amir Khan. Now, Conor Benn versus Amir Khan, now that would be a good one. You know what I'm saying? Because Amir Khan showed he's lost a step and he's dropping down. His value, what we call your stock, has dropped. You hear that? People always use that word, your stock. That's what they're talking about, your value. And a fighter is valued, and this is what they see. A lot of people don't understand boxing. So Floyd Mayweather's stock is very high, right? I'm going to mention Floyd Mayweather for a second because he's Mr. Money, right? Floyd Mayweather's stock is so high that Floyd could have a fight in Dubai with a nobody. You know what I'm saying? And he gonna make millions of dollars. Okay, basically that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna face Don Moore, dangerous Don Moore, who is basically a nobody in boxing. He ain't faced nobody, he ain't beat nobody, right? He's undefeated, good fighter, trained by Roger Mayweather. All of that's true. And Mayweather probably want to give him a little payday, encouragement maybe. But at the end of the day, Mayweather could do that and make millions of dollars. You know why? Because his stock is so high. You understand? And this is what a lot of people don't understand in boxing. Like Jake Paul. Y'all look at Jake Paul and you'll say, well, how Jake Paul making so much money? Well, Jake Paul had a following before Jake Paul was a boxer. And then he got a bigger following when he was doing YouTube boxing because of the way how he would starch guys. Okay? So, yes, he had a following before boxing. But the thing about it is, Jake Paul's network is only going to go up. His stock is going to go up every time he beats an opponent in emphatic fashion. And also when he gets a W. Every time you win, your stock goes up. It don't go down. It goes up. So this is what I realize a lot of you fans out there don't understand about the business of boxing, and why some of the modern fighters today are thinking something like They're thinking like businessmen, sort of like, you know, they don't want to lose their O or whatever. But it's not that they don't want to lose their O. Y'all just don't understand boxing. All right. They understand. All the young boxers today understand, especially the very young ones coming up. They understand that there's a certain lifespan in the sport of boxing if everything works out well. So basically, they know if they keep on winning, they're going to have to clash with one another. So a 22-year-old, a 21-year-old, they're thinking a little bit different to how maybe how certain throwback fighters used to think. Okay, I'm gonna go way back into time. Let's go 1920s, right? There was weight classes, but folks used to jump up weight classes, jump down weight classes, and fight each other, right? Now, dudes didn't care. They just wanted to get work. So dudes would fight 10, 12, 15 times a year, okay? They fight really good fighters. Sometimes they fight out all the good fighters in 1 year, okay? Well, not all the good fighters, but you know what I mean. In 1, 2, 3 years, they fought out everybody, right? And the really good fighters, it wasn't a whole bunch of them. You know, it was the same guys over and over again because, I mean, that's just how it is. The cream rises to the top of the crop and beats everybody else below them. But that cream is almost always a limited number of fighters. No matter how many fighters you have in an era, it's a very limited number of fighters who reach the top level, which makes sense. It's the top level. You're not going to have more than a certain amount of fighters at the top level. You either stay there or you drop out at the top level, right? So having understood that, dudes used to fight out everybody. Dudes used to fight. Dudes used to clean out slate and fight everybody and clean up everybody within a short space of time. You ain't left with nobody else to face. So you're rematching these dudes. And you're not optimizing your dollar. You're not optimizing your worth. All right? It was different times. People were exploited, all kinds of things. It was racism or whatever. It's different times. So they had a lot of stay busies because they had to find somebody else to face. So they had a lot of stay busies, and then they would have these big fights. All right. That's not how it works today. Okay? It's a different era. Like I said, boxing as a sport has evolved. And the more you guys can understand that and can cement in your head, you'll understand what the fighters today are doing. So the fighters today, it's not that they're preserving their O, they're more patient. They want to build a fight. They want to make sure that when they do face each other, one, it's the best of the best really facing each other because they've proven themselves. They've proven themselves. They have a track record. And two, more importantly, their stock is a certain height that the fight is worth the fight. Okay? A lot of y'all don't understand that because boxers today are much more business savvy than they used to be. Shout out to Poopy Sistrong. I don't know why people thought Spence was ducking Crawford. Right. Now, we'll talk about Spence versus Crawford because this is a perfect example. Now, Spence versus Crawford should have had Crawford first called out Spence somewhere in 2014. This fight that's going to happen in 2022 took 8 years. 8 years, I believe, to make. I'm going to check out my dates and times, make sure I have it right. All right? Crawford was calling out Spence, I think, somewhere in 2014, 2015. So it's 8 or 7 years to make. But you got to understand, y'all as fans need to understand that a fight brews and it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds. Now, I'm not saying that something can't happen in between and the fight could be derailed. But fighters today, they understand what it is to have stock and to be your stock to go up or down. That's all I'm saying. And another thing that a lot of people don't understand, and fighters today understand very well, is that every fight counts. It's not, no, there's no such thing as this is, you know, the biggest fight of my career or the most. No, every fight counts. So fighters today, they understand this very, very well. Okay? You want to face somebody. You hear Roy Jones Jr. had said this. A lot of people say you want to face him at the right time. But a lot of times people don't understand what that means. Because people feel it means you're ducking somebody or something. That's not what it means. Let me explain it to you guys as I understand it from the people who speak about the business of it. So let's say, for example, with Spence versus Crawford. Crawford, let's say they fought 7-8 years ago, right? Let's say they did that. Crawford's value wasn't that great, and Spence had basically faced nobody. That fight would have been great. It would have been fantastic. But here's the thing. One, Crawford wouldn't have had the experience he has now. Two, Spence either. And three, it won't be nowhere near the value that it is now. Because they're more experienced, because they have accomplished so much more, and because they stayed at the top of the game, and they proved themselves to be top welterweights, and pound for pound, number 1, 2, 3, whatever it is, they are so much more valuable now. Their stock has risen so high. They're so much valuable now that when this fight happens, it's going to be tremendously bigger than if they would have fight then. This is what the younger fighters are seeing now and understanding. So they're not in a tremendous rush to face each other, but at the same time, they understand they need to build a resume. So that means they have to fight somebody. So you have to be early in the game. You have to be hungry. You have to be wanting to face anybody. This is what's happening with Devin Haney. Devin Haney realizes that he needs to fight names and people to establish himself so people can see and separate himself from the pack. Because when you have a lot of talent or a lot of skills or a lot of God-gifted people in one division, you have to separate yourself somehow, some way. Sean Porter separated himself by facing everybody. He faced Spence, Crawford, Thurman, Garcia, okay, Brook, okay. He faced all the top welterweights at the very top. The only guys he didn't face was Jerome Ennis, who's not of his era, really. All right, he's really out of his era. So that, you know, Sean didn't duck or dodge nobody because he didn't want to. He just wanted to face everybody, and he faced everybody. Now, the thing about it is, Sean Porter never really had very high stock. So, and the reason he didn't have high stock is because he wasn't marketed necessarily the best possible way. And this is the thing about boxing. You have to be marketed properly. But nonetheless, his father tried to manage him as best he could. Now, Porter, though, his stock rose with every single fight. Even if he lost a fight, his stock rose because he was an action-packed fighter. So an L on your resume doesn't necessarily mean that you write it off. Think of Josecito Lopez, right? Josecito Lopez just lost the fight recently there with the young guy, Crawley. All right, stopped him. But Lopez generally would give you a tough fight, you know? And because of that, he's always looked for as an opponent, and he's always earning a certain amount of money. But he's not a pay-per-view star. Now, that's totally different, right? Whereas Errol Spence is a pay-per-view star because he constantly won in an emphatic fashion that people always wanted to see him. He also had sitting down on there a Texas fan base, a tremendous fan base, and then a lot of people worldwide and globally like him. So what Errol Spence is able to do is generate the most amount of revenue by going through those three champions and coming out of the adversity that he has and prevailing. His stock is going way up in the sky. And that's why some of you guys are saying, right, on here, Errol's going to beat Terence. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is his stock's up in the sky. Now, Terence Crawford, on the other hand, he's kept on beating people in emphatic fashion. He beat Sean Porter in emphatic fashion. And his stock is going up as well. Now, even though he was with Bob Arum, who mismanaged him and didn't really do the greatest job in the world promoting him, Terence Crawford is one of those fighters who, though his pay-per-views were not really great, they're nothing like Errol Spence's pay-per-views. Here's the thing that Terence Crawford has going for him. He's going to be facing a guy who would compensate for all of that. He may not get the kind of money that he needs to, but once he beats that guy, he'll get that stuff. It'll translate to him. So this is the opportunity he has. It's a historic event because there's never been a full belt undisputed welterweight champion. There's never been. So they will be the first to do that. One, Terence Crawford's already been undisputed once before. And then two, the next thing that's really historic and really great about this is we're talking about two undefeated southpaw welterweights. I don't know if that ever happened in the history of boxing. So we're talking about that as well being a historic event right there. So there's a lot going on here that a lot of people don't realize. And this is a tremendous event. We're talking about two guys. They're still prime. They're still ready to go. You know, Terence Crawford, he's just waiting for Errol Spence. Once the fight is signed, I think they signed it already or whatever. But once the fight is signed and nailed down officially, it's gonna be on, man. It's gonna be on. It's gonna be a tremendous money-making event. This is a fight a lot of people wanted to see, and the fact that everybody's gonna get it in 2022, it's gonna be a tremendous fight. Everybody's gonna come out to see that. And you're talking about two black fighters. You're talking about two black skilled fighters. You're talking about two black skilled southpaw fighters. You got to be out of your damn mind. Errol Spence is a pay-per-view star, and then on top of that, you're talking about Terence Crawford, who he's not a pay-per-view star, but you know he's such a skilled boxer, so elastic and so plastic and so smart. So, I mean, we're looking forward to this, and we'll see what happens with Terence Crawford. I think this is the best thing Terence Crawford could have ever done. Is be his own boss and everything, but I know we'll kind of move with different management. This fight's going to go down, and it's probably going to make a lot of money. There's going to be a lot of buzz for it. This is the fight that everybody wanted. Everybody wanted to see. They're going to get it. They're going to get it. Terence will be about 34, but he's a young 34. Stay in shape. You know, never really take no serious damage. So if you want to call him prime or not prime, it doesn't really matter. He ain't slowed down a step. In fact, like fine wine, he's gotten better. So I'm looking forward to seeing Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence. Both of the guys do take punches at times. So it'll be interesting to see how they adapt and adjust to each other. This is going to be a mega fight. Mega tremendous fight. And if you're a fight fan, you're licking your chops saying, yes, finally. God damn it. You're licking your chops saying that. It's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a good fight. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know who's going to win. I don't care. I just want to see it. So that's how I feel about it. I put in the community section there who you guys think will win, if it's Errol or if it's Terence Crawford. Some of you guys riding with Terence. Some of you riding with Errol. I don't care. I really don't care. I just want to see it. So that's the truth about me. But that's going to be a great fight, and I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Yeah, so Pitbull, yeah, he could face any one of them top guys. You know what I'm saying? Any one of them top guys. Pitbull's going to be a contender very soon. And if whoever comes out undisputed in that undisputed clash between Devin Haney and George Kambosos, they're going to have a lot of challengers, man. Everybody going to want to be undisputed. So, you know, then everybody can take their turns, because once, you know, there's no draw or anything, you know, we got a clear champion now. One by one, this champion is going to have to take on, you know, each and every one of these challengers. So I'm looking forward to that. If it's Kambosos, we know Kambosos is going to stay at lightweight. If it's Devin Haney, he might win, do one defense or two defenses, and then move up to 140. So, you know, it might be better if Kambosos won, but again, if Haney, you know, if Haney proves to be the superior boxer, superior fighter, then it is what it is. You know what I mean? But Devin Haney believes in his skills, believes in his abilities. You know, once they're accommodating them properly over there in Australia, you know, not trying to, you know, make it difficult for them in terms of their physical state, then let the best man win, man. Let's just get it on, baby. Let's get it on. You know what I mean? So that's what I got to say. As to anybody else out there who wants to talk or has any contributions to what I just said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. You guys can share it if you want to. It's 43 minutes and 23 seconds in. I'm about to write out I'm what you need. If you guys enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. If you want to donate, you can donate via PayPal to my PayPal. Try and put the link in the comment section below when I can. I'm gonna put it also in the comment section here. Let me type it in right now, and that is what you can do. Yep, that's basically it, man. I'm gonna catch you guys later. I am what you need. Let me put it in the comment section here. It's a pretty long PayPal name, but it is what it is. So there you go. All right, just putting it in there. If you guys want to donate to me and my channel, boom, there it is. I'm gonna catch you guys later. I'm what you need. Peace.